Why don't we get these fine folks to introduce the space?
So this is our tiny house. We built it within the last couple of years. We just moved in January of this year. The goal of the tiny house was to simplify our lives and our energy impact on the planet. I think we've accomplished both of those because it's very well insulated, very efficient, both in its energy use and its use of space. We've been enjoying living in it.
This is the home here behind me, and you were mentioning the difference between tiny homes in BC and in Saskatchewan, and how the challenge to maintain the proper airflow and insulation, it's not quite as easy in our, maybe comment on the northern climates here.
On TV and the internet you see a lot of houses that are built with pretty simple methods, like throwing up a 2x4 wall with minimal insulation and vapor barrier attention, and you can't do that kind of thing in a climate like ours in the prairies in Canada, where it can get down to -30. So you spend a lot of time figuring out details, how to keep the house really well insulated and not create moisture problems in the walls in winter. Have really good air quality by having a constant ventilation in the house when all of our windows are locked down for the winter as well. It may sound simple in winter to just think, oh, I can just open up the window in winter for some fresh air, but there goes all your heat, and that's not going to give you a regular air circulation, so you can't count on that either.
Like at night.
Yeah. You can't just leave your window open. You'd have to leave it open all the time.
Just for like venting it in general.
Because in such a small volume of air, you'd use up the oxygen pretty fast in there. Like even when we slept in there before our ventilation system was ready. Oh, and it was incredibly stuffy, and we sleep in the attic. So I would wake up at night uncomfortable. Just that feeling of being in
stuffy.
Stuffy? Yeah, it's like, where's the air? Like, you can't see the problem, but you can sure feel the difference in what we're breathing in. And then the day we had that, that slow trickling ventilation coming through into the attic, it was just a world of difference.
So Jared, how did you solve the air quality problem?
Well, there are commercial heat recovery ventilators on the market that pull fresh air from outside, but run it past warm air from the inside on its way out as it's exhausting, to trap some of that heat or salvage that heat before it's exhausted into the outdoors. The problem with, and they're great. We have them in our larger houses, but the scale of those commercial systems is too large to put in our tiny house. It would be exchanging the air too fast. We'd waste our energy. So we built a smaller version that does the same. So that heat exchanger vents air constantly from our composting toilet. So that's kind of two problems solved in one. And it brings fresh air constantly into the loft area. So we always have fresh air when we're sleeping.
Well, I'm super, super excited also to hear about the composting toilet. Those are a great feature in these sustainable houses. And how the water also flows through. What's the irrigation looking like in there?
So in the wintertime we actually haul water from the main house because our lines are not very deep enough for them to not freeze. And as soon as we're past the threat of freezing, we just hook up a water line from the house. So we're definitely more aware of water use, especially in the wintertime when we're hauling back and forth. But and it's a bit of a chore, but it's really not, compared to the advantages of living small scale, it didn't seem like too much of an obstacle or a burden for us to bear.
Well, when you're counting on those precious bits of warm water and the consciousness of accessing that, it is manageable, and it's something that often we take for granted. So what prompted you guys to move in this direction?
Okay. I love design challenges, and and also lifestyle challenges like that. There's kind of like those periods in life where you need to live in a tent for a month, or you need to hike a really long distance and just live out of your backpack, because you learn so much about yourself and you learn about what's important in life, and those experiences were part of the inspiration for this, like, because when you have less in your life, you realize that your satisfaction doesn't come from your stuff. So one of the main purposes of this was to live with less stuff, and that was a selfish kind of motivator for myself, is just to live a more fulfilling life with less stuff, and by not giving ourselves space in the house to allow clutter to happen, it just doesn't happen. You don't collect stuff because there's no place to put it. It's in your way immediately. Like, even if I leave my backpack out in the wrong spot, it's in my way. I trip over it. I have to put it away. So that's a really good disciplinary feature of the house that I appreciate. And another reason that was a really big motivator for me is just to demonstrate that we can do this to the public as an educational thing, and to live with less energy or less of a tax on the planet. So we've insulated the house really well. It's really efficiently built so that we can power or offset our house to net zero standards. We put solar panels on the shed, and that'll cover, or by our estimate that we got, we can generate twice as much energy with solar panels on our shed as what our house will use. So, looking forward to finishing that stage of the project as well, and saying that we're officially net zero. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think you, just reiterating the point about using our lives to communicate a different narrative, to show that there is an option, there are other options, and there's another. You do choose to structure how your life is going to be. It's just a lot of people aren't making deliberate decisions when they're doing that. They choose the choices that everyone around them are making. And when we started sitting down and making those choices deliberately, this was the outcome, I think.
You don't feel like when you're making those choices in North America or in Saskatoon to get that average size house, you don't feel like, or there is another option, because that's all you see around you is that average size house. Mm-hmm. But when we did some research, we found out that, what was it, more than 60% of the people in the world live in less than 200 square feet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're in the majority. Globally, this is the majority here, and all this stuff around us is the exception. Yeah. But all these people around us think that they're the norm, and that this is weird.
Mm-hmm. We've just normalized excess.
Yeah, it's kind of sad in North America, but that's it.
But we do live in a much harsher climate. So a lot of our structures are built to make this harsh climate a little easier for us to deal with.
But families have actually decreased in size dramatically in the last 30 years.
And our house size has increased. And so, we used to spend a lot more time outside, even in the winter. And now we spend much less. The idea of we can't go outside because it's minus 30 is a pretty new idea. I don't know what country, but there's a country, maybe Switzerland, where they say there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. So it's all your narrative. It's all this. What story are you telling yourself about? Because as soon as you can change your story dictates your choices, and then your choices dictate the life that you lead.
Well, I think that's very well said.